Hi students, how are you? I hope each one among you are doing good and well. Welcome to Supnits classes. This is Rahmat Latif and today we are going to learn first chapter of 11th standard, that is the living world, in which we will study different kind of topics. First of all, we will try to learn what are the features present in a living body, present in a living organism, and those features are characteristic feature, and another one is the defining feature. We will first of all try to learn what basically characteristic features are, and then we will discuss what defining features are. First of all, we will see what characteristic feature is actually. Okay, characteristic features are those features which are exhibited by which through which we can't define whether the entity in front of us is living or non-living. Okay, we have to if we have to discuss whether the structure present in front of us is living or non-living, we won't consider characteristic features, because characteristic feature might be in exceptional cases as well. Okay, we will see what are characteristic features and what are defining features basically. Okay, defining features are those features through which it becomes crystal clear that the structure present in front of us is living, because it has no other exception. Okay, no non-living object exhibits similar character, but in characteristic feature you will see that non-living object may acquire those characteristics, those features. So that's why we can't use these features, characteristic features, in order to describe whether the structure present in front of us is living or non-living. I hope this concept is clear. See, if we will say what is living, so we can say number of characteristics exhibited, features exhibited by living organisms. We can say that living organisms reproduce, they grow both in mass and increase in height. Okay, we are able, living organisms are able to sense environment. I mean, what I meant to say, what I actually meant to say when I am saying sense to ability to sense environment, I just want to say here that say for example, right now the atmosphere around us is very cold. Okay, so what we do is we just wear warm clothes, right, in order to protect ourselves from cold. That is actually ability to sense environment. We just feel cold because we are able to sense environment. Similarly, talking about summer seasons, say for example, it's very hot temperature, it's very weather is very sunny outside. So what we do, we just turn on the fan, we just took shower multiple times in a day. So these are the aspects through which we can say that we are able to sense environment actually. Okay, these are the distinct characteristics exhibited by living organisms, like growth, like reproduction, like ability to sense environment. Okay, we will see one by one all of them. Okay, whether they are characteristic feature or defining feature. First of all, we will try to learn what growth is. Is growth characteristic feature or defining feature? As I discussed in reproduction in organisms, growth, how does growth took place? Growth took place by cell division. Okay, because what I told you, when sperm and ovum meets, they form zygote, which is nothing but a single cell. Then how does it grow? It grows by cell division known as mitosis. Okay, cell growth, cell division took place. Okay, so we can simply say that growth took place through cell division. Okay, and you will see that in plants in most of the plants, cell division is actually continuous. Cell division is continuous. That's why we will see, we are able to see so tall trees, okay, taller than humans, taller than other animals. But if we will talk about animals or human beings, you know, cell division gets stopped after a period of time. Say for example, we usually say that after teenage we won't grow taller, okay, because cell division becomes restricted. No more cell division took place. Yes, but cell division took place. When does cell division will took place? After teenage, most probably after our growth, when growth doesn't happen. When does cell division took place? Cell division took place when kind of injury happens to us, okay, when we got any kind of injury. Say for example, here I got injury, we will be able to see that blood oozes out from that particular part where injury took place, okay. And what will happen to that site? At that site cell division becomes destructed, okay. The destruction of cells will took place. And what will happen in order to, in order to get the cells back, the cells around this which are, which are totally safe, which are not destructed, they will divide the cells, and this place will got fulfilled by new cells. That's why cell division will took place at this area where injury has took place. Please remember, when cell division took place after certain growth, okay. I hope this concept is clear. We will see through this PPT. Growth. See, for example, I already told you all living organisms grow, and how they grow? They either grow in mass or in height, okay, or they increase number of individuals, right? These are the characteristics of growth, okay. Multicellular organism will grow by cell division, as I already told you. Talking about plants, this growth by cell division occurs continuously throughout their lifespan. But talking about animals, their growth is seen only up to a certain age, okay. But as I told you that cell division also occurs in certain tissues to replace lost cells, which the reason might be injury or any other reason. That's why cell division will take place at that particular area through cell division, okay. Cell division will took place in that particular area, say for example in tissue, okay, in order to fulfill the injury area of injury with new cells. I hope this concept is clear. You will see unicellular organisms also grow by cell division, okay. But as I am saying, unicellular organism grow by cell division. As I already mentioned, in reproduction in organisms, cell division in unicellular organism is considered as reproduction. So can't we say that reproduction and growth is simultaneous in unicellular organism, as they are growing and they are reproducing simultaneously, okay. Okay. As I mentioned here, in majority of higher animals and plants, growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. Like it doesn't happen we are growing and simultaneously reproducing. No, it never happens, okay. We just reproduce only after a particular age. But what happens in unicellular organisms? In unicellular organisms, growth took place by cell division, reproduction also took place by cell division. That's why we can say that growth and reproduction is simultaneous in unicellular organisms, okay. As I already mentioned, increase in body mass is also considered as growth, okay. But if we will talk about non-living objects, we have to decide now, is this characteristic feature or defining feature? Till now we saw that in living organisms growth took place, be they unicellular organisms, be they multicellular organisms, or we can say be they simplest organisms or complex organisms, be they plants, growth took place. But if we will talk about non-living objects, no non-living object grows in height. Say for example, this is my pen, its height would be same till from the time I bought this pen till it will, it will get continuously used, its height would be same. But talking about its mass, say for example, I put this pen on the road, and on road you will see that there are dust particles, there are sand particles, there are other entities like dust, like stones, pebbles, that might get attached to its surface. Okay, that might get attached to its surface, and can't we say that its mass is increasing, its mass is increasing. Similarly, talking about sorry, mountains or sand boulders, what happen, new particles, new dust particles or sand boulders, what would happen, new particles of dust, of pebbles, of stones will come through air and get sticker to these surfaces, and what would happen, its width will increase, its mass will increase. Okay, so can't we say that non-living objects also grow? If we take example of increase in mass, please remember, increase in mass, their mass would increase, that's why growth will take place. I hope this concept is clear. How non-living objects grow, obviously they don't grow in height, they grow in size. Okay, please remember, here I gave you so many examples like mountains, boulders, sand mounds. Okay, they also grow, but this growth by non-living object is by accumulation of material, be that sand particles, dust particles. Okay, so growth is of two types, we can say growth is of two types. First one is intrinsic, another one is extrinsic. Intrinsic growth means which is taking place inside our body through cell division. Okay, cell division is not occurring outside the body, outside the environment, it's taking place inside the body of living organisms. But talking about extrinsic growth, what happens in extrinsic growth, basically it took place in non-living objects. Please remember, it took place in non-living objects, and extrinsic growth is by accumulation of material. This is the difference between the growth of living organisms and non-living objects. Okay, so we can say that growth is not defining feature, it's just a characteristic feature. Okay, growth is a characteristic feature, not defining feature, because exception is here, exception of non-living objects is here, please remember. Moving to our next topic, that is reproduction. What would happen in reproduction? What is basically reproduction? Reproduction is simply a biological process in which an organism gives rise to young ones which are similar to them, I mean to say parents, and further those offsprings grow, mature, and in turn produce new offsprings. Okay, this is a cycle which is happening. And why does reproduction took place? In order to maintain species generation after generation. Okay, now if we will talk about reproduction, multicellular organisms reproduce, okay, through sexual reproduction. Talking about unicellular organisms, how does unicellular organisms reproduce? They will reproduce through asexual reproduction. See, I have already mentioned what asexual reproduction is, what sexual reproduction is. Here I am again trying to explain asexual reproduction took place by single parent only. Sexual reproduction took place by two parents of opposite sex. Okay, like talking about unicellular organisms, say for example, I already mentioned fungi, they multiply and spread through so many asexual spores. Talking about lower organisms, yeast and hydra, we observe budding. In planaria, flatworms, we observe true regeneration. Okay, regeneration took place. We can say that the organism, if organism will lost its body part, that part will become new organism. Okay. Similarly, talking about fungi, filamentous algae, protonema of mosses, they all easily multiply by fragmentation. Like if so many parts, if the body will get divided into so many fragments, each fragment will be able to give rise to new organisms. Okay. Talking about bacteria, unicellular algae, amoeba, reproduction is synonymous with growth, as I already mentioned. Since unicellular organisms tries to grow, it just divides its cells. We already mentioned that reproduction is nothing in unicellular organism. Reproduction is nothing but cell division. That's why through cell division they are able to produce new offsprings. That's why we can say that reproduction and what we call it as growth is synonymous in unicellular organisms. But till here we saw that all organisms are able to reproduce, be they unicellular organisms, be they multicellular organisms, okay, be they simplest plants. Okay. But there are so many organisms which are unable to produce, which doesn't reproduce, sorry. Like we have mules, we have sterile worker bees, we have infertile human couples. These are basically exception to this reproduction. Like they aren't able to reproduce after so many successive tries. They are unable to reproduce. Talking about sterile worker bees, they are already sterile. As their name already said all this, they are sterile. And talking about mules, they are produced by horse and donkey. That's why they are sterile. So whenever we want mule, what we do, we just do artificial mating of horse and donkey outside the body in laboratory. So these organisms can't reproduce. So reproduction is also characteristic feature, not defining feature, because here in reproduction we saw what we saw. In reproduction we saw exceptions. Okay. So we can say it's a characteristic feature, not defining feature. Coming to our next topic, that is metabolism. Sorry, it's kind of we will see whether it is defining feature or characteristic feature of living organisms. See, all living organisms are made up of chemicals. Okay, we will try to learn what metabolism is. Metabolism, it's actually metabolic reactions which are taking place inside our body. Okay, sum total of all the chemical reactions, the chemical reactions taking place in our body, that we call as metabolism. Okay. So in every organism metabolism happens. Okay. Be they unicellular organisms, be they multicellular organisms, be they simplest organisms, be they complex organism, in every organism, living organism, metabolism do occur. But here we have exception of, like we can do chemical reaction outside the body. As you might have saw in chemistry laboratories, what happens, we just pursue chemical reactions there outside the body. Can't we say that metabolism is also occurring outside the body, right? We can say metabolism is occurring outside the body, but here we can say, so metabolism is not defining feature. Metabolism again is characteristic feature. What becomes defining feature here? Here cellular organization becomes defining feature. Because inside our bodies, where does chemical reactions, where does metabolism took place? Obviously it took place in cellular or cells. That's why we can say that cellular organization is the defining feature, but metabolism is a characteristic feature, because those reactions we can pursue outside the body in the laboratory. But talking about cellular organization, this is defining feature, because we know each and every organism, be it simplest organism or complex organism, every organism is made up of cell, because cell itself says that cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of living organism. So cell is not present in the non-living objects, in any non-living object. Okay, so we can say cellular organization is defining feature. In this lecture we saw growth, reproduction and metabolism. We saw growth is characteristic feature, not defining feature, because we have exception of mountains, sand mounds, boulders, which grow by accumulation of material on their surfaces, which is known as extrinsic growth. So it's the characteristic feature, not defining feature. After this we have reproduction. We also see reproduction took place in living organism. Again we have exception of mules, sterile worker bees and infertile human couples, which are unable to produce their offsprings. Okay, so it's also characteristic feature, not defining feature, because again exception is here. Then we saw metabolism. In metabolism we saw that every organism is able to produce chemical reactions inside their body, to perform chemical reactions inside their body. But we have exception here, that metabolism took place outside the body as well, in the laboratory, as you have seen in chemical reactions during chemistry practicals. But I am again saying that metabolism is characteristic feature. Then what becomes defining feature here? It is cellular organization, which becomes, it's basically cellular organization which becomes defining feature here. I hope you come to know about the distinction between characteristic feature and defining feature. And here in this lecture you learnt which features of living organisms are characteristic and which features are defining features. We will meet you in another such session. Till then, goodbye, take care. Thank you so much.